For those with metabolic conditions like diabetes and obesity, going to the doctor isn't just stressful, it can feel like an interrogation. Questions from medical providers like, why don't you eat better, or why don't you move more, leave the individual feeling this sense of shame and moral failure. But there are so many factors outside of an individual's control. Lingering in our air, water, and buildings are a host of environmental toxicants, each playing an insidious role in the development of human disease. One of these toxicants is polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs for short. PCBs were produced in large quantities before the 1980s, and they were put into a ton of different products, including things like paint, caulk, light ballasts, and so much more. And despite being banned for 50 years, PCBs persist in both our built and natural environment, earning them the title of a forever chemical. And when we humans are exposed to this forever chemical, they will accumulate within our body fat, meaning that almost all humans have traces of PCBs in their system. My research seeks to understand how PCB accumulation in our body fat impacts the development of metabolic diseases. Our body fat in and of itself is an incredibly important and diverse tissue, with lots of cells working together to maintain balance and harmony. The main cells, adipocytes, their job is to store energy, but they can't do their job alone and rely on lots of other cells to help them. One of these cells are macrophages, a type of immune cell. Macrophages are a bit of a shapeshifter. So in healthy fat, macrophages are a little bit like Dr. Bruce Banner from the Marvel Universe. They're calm and anti-inflammatory, communicating clearly with the adipocytes to keep them happy and healthy. So what happens when PCBs come into the mix? Well, my research shows that PCBs act as a bit of a trigger, turning these Bruce Banner macrophages into an angry, inflammatory, Hulk-like version. These Hulk macrophages then release a slew of inflammatory signals that make the adipocytes themselves angry and inflammatory. This creates a cascade of inflammation that starts in fat, but ultimately spreads throughout the rest of the body, leading to the chronic inflammation that is a hallmark of metabolic disease. So ultimately, the PCBs lingering in our air, water, and buildings do matter and play a role in the development of metabolic disease. And by understanding this, I hope two things can happen. One, we can release some of that shame that individuals feel because it isn't just about individual choices. And two, we can redirect it to where it matters, toward the companies and governments to make sure these PCBs are removed and never put into our world again. Thank you.